Okay, so I'm the one in between you and coffee, so I'll again just take a pretty quick tour through what we do, how we've worked with customers to really make this process a success. As I said, long-standing partnership with Mitel, so used to ultimately getting the most out of that technology. It's not cloud or nothing. We support customers with on-premise technology. We definitely have deployed these types of solutions into customers' VMware environments or third-party data center providers. And of course, we provide a cloud offering and data center infrastructure ourselves as well. And I think really with the approach with Mitel, what you have is the ability to kind of do a mix and match to suit. So that hybrid opportunity is most definitely available to you. So just some of the things I'll pick up on is Britannic as a cloud service provider, what we do, why we do it that way. There were a lot of changes that we needed to go through because it is a very, very different model. The expectation should be different, and if you are putting your confidence and responsibility of systems to a service provider, you need the assurances that it's going to be delivered, managed, supported in the way in which you expect it to be. I'll talk through the offerings that we have with Mitel as well. So there's a number of different choices. So what are they? And then also how do we manage this move to the cloud? And we run a lot of these events, and we go and see a lot of customers and other Mitel users, and it's really interesting just to hear the approach that different people have got and the challenges that they face, and ultimately be able to sit around a table and talk about approaches and challenge some of the thinking and share the success that we've had. And there is ultimately no one size fits all. There's different paths and approaches to take for each customer, and I think that's a major part that needs to be undertaken is that audit, the investigation, the as is and the to be. Where is someone today? Where do they want to get to? And how do you move and manage through that change? So invariably what we're seeing is building programs of change and transition programs for customers, because there's a lot of different considerations that need to be taken. So back in 2010, so as I said, we've been working very closely with Mitel. We had actually deployed our very first VMware Mitel solution spanning 4 countries, and what we did is we spent a lot of time designing it for this customer. We built it, we tested it, and we managed the cutover over the weekend. And when all the users went home on the Friday night, they were working in this distributed phone systems on site. And when they all came back in on the Monday morning, they were working from a centralized VMware environment, and all of the functionality, right down to the features on the buttons were all carried over. So a lot of time in actually working with the customer to review the programming and making sure that this change of environment didn't actually impact the users. It was a case of still delivering the services that they needed to do the day job. For sure, we support a range of environments, and I think that's important. I think it's one of the benefits that Mitel have is it's the path and plan to suit you, as opposed to being pushed into cloud and that's the only option. And then we've got lots of acronyms up there, but I think really what this whole market did was it created a new way of working. The infrastructure as a service. Do I need to go and invest in all this hardware and platforms? Do I need to manage it? Do I need to have to recruit the skills and train and retain and develop the people within the business? Or actually, can I just decide what applications and services I want hosted in someone else's environment, and they manage it all for me? And certainly what I saw was the demand for customers who are going through those different phases of development for needing different skill set at different points in time. So the idea of delivering resource as a service, the experts when they're needed to work with our customers' teams, whether it's in their environments, in third-party data centers, or indeed our environments. It's about that team working to design, build and deliver the technology change for people. And it's very much, support what people have today, migrate, build these plans, move into these new environments, and then importantly, once we've got these environments, it becomes so much easier to start to deliver new technology, new applications, and deliver innovation back into the business. And I think, again, we're all being driven to try and add value and differentiate, and whether it's how we interact with customers, whether it's how we manage multiple communication streams. But the point is, once we've got this environment, we can start to try the stuff out. We can start to pick pilot groups, and we can start to use the technology and support new ways of working. So what changes did we need to make? Well, we absolutely needed to continue, whilst we're a technical business and with a lot of skill set, we needed to continue to develop and hone those skills. So, we partnered with VMware, we built the capability within the business, and off we went. We decided we were going to go and build out this resilient platform. That was a major focus for us. It's not just a case of hosting something for someone, it's got to be available. So the premise of what we built was based upon business continuity and high availability. And again, I think when you go and start looking at those things, it's not really about having that as a concept and offering SLAs that don't necessarily mean anything. We had to change the approach to service, right? We wrote new SLAs that we delivered to the market, which have 5 nines uptime guarantees, and behind it, these were underpinned with penalties if we failed to meet that. Because if we didn't do that, is it really worth the paper it's written on? And I'd seen this out in the marketplace that people were being signed up to high availability SLAs, but what was the incentive for the service provider to actually go and deliver against the SLAs that you signed up to? So, our SLA, our contract is aligned to ultimately ensure and give the guarantees around performance and availability for customers. We also had to improve and develop the managed service offering. So we built skill sets within the NOC. We looked at service delivery management. We looked at the reporting and the monitoring, because part of this is, if you're now working with a partner to give them greater control and greater emphasis on your systems, you kind of need to know that the stuff's going to be available. You need to know if there's potentially problems that are coming downstream. So, a lot of changes that we made there. Security, that's one of the points that Lisa raised. It was very, very important for us. We were, early days, we were filling a lot of questionnaires out from some big businesses around what our security policies were. And, whilst it's we had the right approach and the controls in place, we recognised the need to work to standards. So we went through and we achieved the accreditation of ISO 27001, which again is something that I'd implore you to go and look for in any partner that you're working with for cloud solutions. Security is really important, and availability of the technology. We also needed to change the billing system. So we developed our own billing system over a number of years. And if we're now moving into this environment where there's different types of services, and we're moving into these template ideas of different user classes and different applications people are going to use, and a cost per user against it, then actually you want to be able to see what you're getting from a billing perspective. You want the clarity. So we made changes into the billing system so that we could actually deliver that for customers, so you could clearly see what you were getting and what you were paying for. And then that really extends the opportunity of working with customers to pick the different user types. So when it comes to budgeting and growing the system and scaling and changing, it's a simple calculator exercise. You're not having to go and buy a ton of hardware to go and extend the services. You're just picking the different user types you require. And as I said, an important part of this is the process of how we manage this change. It's not always the case that we deliver from our cloud environment. We might need to connect into existing networks, existing data centers. So we had to put all of these things in place so that we were able to migrate and manage change, but also connect into existing environments. Because the last thing we wanted to do was to dictate to customers that it had to be a wholesale change of all the technology that they had in place. So it was about how do we deliver the services, deliver the technology, and embrace the existing environments. Okay, so this is the kind of design that we put together a number of years ago, and the concept was very simple, right? It was about building out these environments. We said we now sit across 3 data centers. But it equally could be customer data center environments, customer premises, and hosting the telephony into those systems. So the concept was starting to take, at the time, Mitel technology, call recording technology, and take a lot of the services we'd been delivering and cloud enable them. So started to host them in this data center environment, and then deliver it through network tails down into the edge where people were working. So take away the complexity of all this hardware, take away the complexity of the configuration that was required, and ultimately have these these service streams up in the cloud that you could consume irrespective of where you were. So we were then into working with customers to design out these templates. So taking away hardware and legacy connections like ISDN in a phased way, and actually looking at individual sites and what network connections were required to support those locations. Building all of that out and then managing that move. So within there, we've got a whole host of technology. We use our own reporting tools that monitor what's going on. So we're able to, in essence, provide health checks and visibility for customers into the technology, and very much a focus of if people want to use recording as an example, that's a service that can then be consumed from the cloud. Again, within our core infrastructure that spans these data centers, we've invested in best-of-breed technology to be able to scale and support customers, to provide security and backup services as well. And again, I think this is an important piece. There's a number of different network providers out there, and what we did is we set up ultimately interconnects into these different technologies and providers, so we could start to provide customers with choices as to how they connected into this cloud service. Because the whole point is, once this cloud is there and you're consuming the technology, if you move office or you set up a new office, once you've got the connection in, you're on the platform. So we needed and wanted to be able to give people choice. We wanted to look at what was available in certain areas. We wanted to look at delivering best value for money. We wanted to look at bandwidth size, and again, providing the scalability to continue to increase with customer need. SIP, so an important component of cloud. There's some great opportunities here. If you're working across a distributed environment, by having connections into a SIP network, what you're able to do is to consolidate down ultimately the telephone line infrastructure. So previously, people were using ISDN, and what's happened over a period of time is ISDN has been phased out, and SIP SIP trunking has become the mainstream core routing technology moving forward. And what's that enabled people to do? Well, yes, there's some great cost savings, but also what I've now got is this centralized service, this shared resource that I can use across the business, and I can scale up and scale down in line with my needs. I can start to route calls dynamically across an organization. So if I were to experience an outage on a particular site, I can treat this as one great big system, and I can reroute the calls automatically where I want them to go, so not being subject to downtime. NetConnect, I mentioned this. This is we're seeing more and more drive for people wanting to improve the productivity, efficiency, and customer experience and customer service. And this is a clever bit of middleware that can sit on premise or sit up in the data center that creates the link between software applications and the phone system infrastructure. So providing things like screen pop and click to dial. Technology that previously had been hard to deliver and expensive to deliver is something that we've built into our service. That as I said, 65 CRM systems, 60 phone systems provide you that ability to ultimately unify a desktop, right? Irrespective of the fact that you've got different users all over the place, you can have a bit of code that joins up and delivers control of the desktop and connection to the phone system. The reporting, we really believe in working with customers to deliver transparency. We provide reporting around uptime across the full range of services and applications we deliver. So this could be multiple Mitel applications as an example. We provide web interfaces for customers to view these things themselves as well. I remember going to see the IT director at Trailfinders, and at the time he was working with another provider for the network, and I said, what's the biggest bugbear for you of your network partner, of the service provider? And he said, well, the challenge I've got is if there's a problem, I kind of know first, and then when I phone in to ask what's going on, they don't know what's actually happening. So we wanted to introduce a tier of reporting where we could drill down and not just see what the problems were, but actually look at parameters and conditions that would enable us to preempt and manage the systems accordingly. So if we consider Mitel, we're all Mitel users in the room. There are a number of different options of deploying Mitel technology. So it could be a 3300 industry standard server. It could be, if we're looking at cloud options, it could be data center VMware. It could be a third-party data center. It could be a Britannic data center, or a mix and match. So there's a number of different options open to you, and it very much is a case of sitting down and looking at where you are, what you're trying to achieve, and ultimately designing a plan and a path for you individually. And when it comes to the commercial models, again, there's great choice, there's great opportunity here. We've done a lot with this, with existing Mitel users, where if you think about the traditional view of hosted telephony and cloud, you go and buy some software, or you pay so much per month forever to use a cloud offering. You buy some handsets, you connect them, and you're now connected to a cloud system. We saw a great opportunity where people already made that investment in Mitel licensing, Mitel technology, was to take that and then move that into a data center environment, connect the handsets, and it's now delivered as a managed service, as a cloud architecture, without having to start all over again, without having to buy new handsets, without having to buy the software again, without having to pay a cost per user per month forevermore. So if you're looking at cloud, you're in a great position where you've already got the technology that can be moved into the cloud and upgraded through things such as a software assurance program to actually enable you to continue to add new features and applications moving forward. Hosted CapEx, so again we have some customers who've done this, that have bought the technology and then implemented into either their data centers or our data centers, and then again we manage all the infrastructure, we manage the service, and then after a period we can either lease this technology that provides a drop down, or you own the Mitel licensing. You've got portability if you ever want to move it around, and you're not having to continue to pay on a right to use basis. And of course the last one, which is the familiar cloud option, is very much one of a pay-as-you-go, a rental type service where there's a cost per user per month, different costs depending upon the different types of applications, but it's giving you that high degree of flexibility. You're not owning and responsible for the technology, you just use what you want on a monthly basis and pay for it. So just wrapping up before the coffee, things that we do, things we work with customers to undertake is auditing what's in place currently, both from a technology perspective, also a supply chain perspective. We look at costs because our experience has shown that moving environments and introducing new ways of working and new technology does definitely deliver cost savings. So we can talk through those. They'll be customized to you so you can have a business case to take forward. We'll look at where you're at today and where you want to get to and the different steps to take along the way, because we've had some that have just moved in a very short space of time to the cloud. KM Group as an example, they decided that was one that everything's in the cloud. The publishing software was in the cloud, we want the phone systems in the cloud, and in a matter of weeks we built an environment and moved the whole organisation to the cloud. But we've also had customers that have been doing it in migration phases. So they might move the first few sites, as the case with Lears, put a contact centre in first, and then starting to add additional sites as they move forward. So we'll build a plan. We'll also look at the business continuity aspects. We use Prince2 from a project perspective. We design the platform. If we're introducing new technology, we build and undertake UAT and training, and ultimately design the solution and work together to deliver success. Training, I think, is important. If you're introducing new systems, making changes, one of the things that we've invested time in is just simple how-to video clips to underpin training and cultural change with people. So there's a link to the TV site there. If you need any how-to clips on the Mitel systems, please go and have a look. We get multiple thousands of people visiting that website, and it's great from a refresher perspective for users. So feel free to use it. And ultimately, then this is our approach is very much medium to long term, working with customers. The service management, the account management tier. Moving to an environment that's easier to manage, but also easier to innovate. Working with our customers to spot opportunity for business improvement through technology. Undertaking pilots, evaluations, workshops, because there's lots of great stuff out there, but it's about how we apply it to individual customers. As I said, the service management area is key, making sure that you're able to track performance, availability, response, supporting the platforms, making changes, introducing new technology. So, a very well-founded and run service team. And the last bit is some potential gotchas. There's a whole load of different things to consider, and this is really predicated based upon where you're at, your environments and what you're trying to achieve, but I've just picked a few of them so you can see them. So one of them is if you're moving into a cloud service, what about analog devices, whether it's faxing or PDQ machines, what do you need to do? So what provision do you need to make for those? Can you convert them to a SIP or a cloud model? Number porting, this can be great fun. If we're moving from ISDN infrastructure to SIP, there's a process that we need to go through for porting the numbers. Once they are ported to a SIP environment, you've got so much flexibility around how you move and manage and scale up and scale down services. But there are things to be aware of there. I mean, positively, we've got a lot of experience, and in fact, BT have just changed their processes that they'll now support out of hours porting, which is something we've been doing for a couple of years and actually push the industry to make changes. So we know a lot of things that can help around porting. The phasing of the plan, so again, how do you want to approach it? We can give some input. The process of cutover, what does that look like? How's that going to be managed? The data connections and the network and the quality of service. Is there sufficient bandwidth? If we've got a central point where applications are being run from, what's the application stream across the network? I would absolutely implore you to look at any SLAs of any partners that you're looking to move forward with. And when you do make these changes, it's not just a case of doing what you've always done, but doing it in the cloud. It's also a great opportunity to look at innovation and additional value back into the business. And definitely do not forget the importance of business continuity. If you're moving everything to a centralized environment, you've got to make sure the stuff's resilient. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a bit of a flavour for what we do and how we've done it.